So Israel continues to pound, whether it's the strips in Gaza area where they believe Hamas stronghold has been, or in Lebanon, in Beirut specifically, where they say that the Hezbollah quarters are. Amid all of this, the situation on the ground extremely tense. Israel simultaneously struck a clinic and a school turned shelter in Gaza, where 28 people were killed. According to IDF, this is where there have been shelters of the Hamas. Now, meanwhile, you're looking at the visuals of Beirut in Lebanon. This is southern Lebanon, we are told, where images released by the IDF shows that they have recovered about tunnels, massive cache of weapons in residential localities kept by Hezbollah. But the onslaught in South Beirut also continues. Hezbollah health facility went up in flames after the Israeli airstrike. Reports suggest the attack was to target Hezbollah coordination unit head. Military vehicles are on the move in Israel's north regions. Heavy forces build up near the Lebanon border.
Every house is a terror base. I wanted you to see in your own eyes what we found here today. This is our forces raiding on this village. Come with me. In this house, a storage of gear, waiting for Hezbollah's Radwan forces, with vests, helmets, night vision, mines you can see here. Already, all of these weapons here were stored and piled in the house, ready for the big raid. The raid plan called Conquer the Galilee. They plan to do a massacre in a larger scale than the 7th of October on northern Israel. And with this gear over here, I want you to see what kind of a gear. You see the hand grenades here. Sniper rifles, extremely high sniper rifles, shooting on our forces, shooting on our civilians from far away. Look at those sniper rifles here.
انتصارا لمظلومية الشعبين الفلسطيني واللبناني وإسنادا للمقاومتين الفلسطينية واللبنانية وردا على العدوان الأمريكي البريطاني على بلدنا نفذت القوات المسلحة اليمنية عمليتين عسكريتين. الأولى استهدفت من خلالها سفينة أولمبيك إسبريت النفطية الأمريكية، وقد تم استهداف السفينة في البحر الأحمر ب11 صاروخا باليستيا وطائرتين مسيرتين، وقد أصيبت إصابة مباشرة وبالغة بفضل الله.
La situazione in quella parte di Libano ci preoccupa non da oggi, ma quello che è successo ieri e oggi è totalmente inaccettabile. E non esiste la giustificazione di dire che le forze armate israeliane avevano avvisato UNIFIL che alcune delle basi dovevano essere lasciate. Ho detto all'ambasciatore di riferire al governo israeliano che le Nazioni Unite e l'Italia non possono prendere ordini da Israele. Le Nazioni Unite e l'Italia sono lì in attuazione di una risoluzione delle Nazioni Unite e l'unico modo con cui si può discutere quello che facciamo è ponendo formalmente il tema alle Nazioni Unite, non sicuramente dando ordini alle nazioni libere che sono lì per difendere il diritto internazionale di fare una cosa o di farne un'altra.
So remember that this means in this region, specifically in West Asia, the tensions are escalating, and this is clearly a war zone. And war zone of a magnitude that appears to be only escalating further, which means there may be military, terror groups, extremists fighting this multi-pronged war. But the humanitarian toll, the innocent civilians, women, children and men who are also getting caught in it is also the tangent to look at. So here's a special report to help you understand what the war zone is looking like.
The conflict in West Asia escalates as Israel engages in a multi-front war.
In northern Israel, military vehicles are on the move as the nation intensifies its assault on the Hezbollah in southern Lebanon. The Israeli government claims these operations are essential to ensure the safe return of tens of thousands of Israelis who evacuated northern areas due to cross-border rocket fire. Israeli army footage released Thursday shows strikes on Hezbollah weapon storage facilities. On September the 30th, Israel launched a ground operation into Lebanon after nearly a year of intermittent cross-border fire. Meanwhile, in Gaza, the situation remains critical. The death toll from an Israeli airstrike on a school shelter in Deir al-Balah rose to 28.
The man I lifted from over his face, he was all ripped. He had no head. I did not know who he was. There was a woman nearby. Here you can see her blood. She was on the floor. I lifted the cloth from her face. I found her dead. May God have mercy on her.
As the airstrikes continue in both directions, Palestinians search through the debris in Gaza City, looking for survivors, following attacks on clinics housing displaced individuals.
Children were playing in the schoolyard. They opened a school for them upstairs to tutor them just 2 days ago. All of this missile drops on them and rips young children. I come and find the mother lying on the floor. I lift her face to see who she is. May God have mercy on you.
Hamas terrorists are claiming a significant ambush on Israeli forces, targeting armored vehicles and soldiers in northern Gaza. The Qassam brigades claim they have successfully struck Israeli troops during their latest ground invasion. And 10 days after Iran's missile offensive, Israel's security cabinet is set to vote on authorizing Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and Defense Minister Yoav Gallant to determine their response. In this multi-front war, the greatest cost remains the loss of civilian lives. As the conflict unfolds, the death toll rises, leaving a devastating impact on countless families. With Gaurav Sawant in northern Israel and Ashutosh Mishra in southern Lebanon, Bureau Report, India Today.
Israeli forces fired on positions used by the UN peacekeepers in Lebanon, and the UN force has said as Israel warned Lebanese civilians not to return to homes in the south, pressed on with its assault on Hezbollah.
A UN peacekeeping mission in Lebanon says Israeli forces fired on its positions on Wednesday and Thursday. The United Nations Interim Force in Lebanon, or UNIFIL, says 2 of its peacekeepers were injured when an Israeli tank fired at its main headquarters in Naqoura. Israel has been pursuing a widening offensive against Hezbollah in that area. A UN source said there were no casualties in 2 other incidents. UNIFIL spokesperson Andrea Tenenti.
This is highly concerning, not only because peacekeepers are there, but because this was done by, most probably a deliberate attack against our troops, which is a violation or a grave violation of international humanitarian law.
Italy has protested to Israel over the incident. Its defense minister called it illegal and a possible war crime.
We asked for the reason why these shots were fired, and we expected to know them officially. The ambassador was not able to provide us with explanations.
Israel has warned Lebanese civilians not to return to homes in the south as it presses on with its assault. On Thursday night, Israeli strikes on central Beirut killed several people and wounded dozens of others, Lebanon's health ministry said. A security source said at least 1 senior Hezbollah figure was targeted in the attacks.